Alright, man. So Kyle Lowry, he has to be the greatest Raptor of all time for many reasons. And if you guys can think of any other rapper as the greatest Raptor of all time, you guys can have your say. You guys can have DeMar DeRozan, you guys can have Kawhi Leonard, you guys can have anyone else on your list. Kyle Lowry, he's had the greatest and funnest eras of basketball ever of all time throughout the 2010s to watch. So in today's video, I'll be discussing Kyle Lowry and basically his long-time legacy to the Raptors, and basically why he's the greatest Raptor of all time. If you are new, sit back, relax, and enjoy this video, and let's get started. And I'm going to talk more about Kyle Lowry and get basically his personality and stuff as a player. So in today's video, let's get started. After Kyle Lowry back in his NBA career, he couldn't really find a home like how it is in Toronto now. For Kyle Lowry, you can say he probably had a rough 6 or 5 years of basketball because he couldn't find a home. He played for teams like Memphis, he played for teams like Houston. This then led him to a trade for Toronto, as he had a very long, full NBA career. He had played with many players like Marc Gasol, he played with many players like Yao Ming. There'd be many players like Kyle Lowry could play with, so he didn't really get a time to mesh and basically be on a good team unit. So for Kyle Lowry, I think he had one of the most greatest runs afterwards for the Toronto Raptors, which I'll truly explain now. And I think he basically had a very impactful mindset before coming to a team. I remember he would always be complaining to coaches about basically the team's record, his team's play, and he wouldn't really get along. Like for Kevin McHale, he didn't really get along with, and even in Houston, I don't think he really got along with the coach, but he's a very troublesome player. I don't know why it was, but Kyle Lowry basically had an up and underdog mentality that no one really had. Let's talk about now basically his time leading to the Raptors and what made him so great and how he had a fun era of basketball. So on July 5th of 2012, the Houston Rockets traded Kyle Lowry to the Toronto Raptors. In this trade, basically, what the package included was Kyle Lowry going to Toronto, of course, and the Rockets in exchange received Gary Forbes and a first-round pick. As for Kyle Lowry, for his career resume, he's a 6-time All-Star, 2019 NBA champion, and he's a 2015 to 2016 All-NBA type player. So for Kyle Lowry, he basically had a good career resume, as he's only a 6-foot guard with many defensive intangibles you can even see on both ends of the court, and he can even have offense to a fair degree. For his first year with the Raptors, he gave 11 points and shot the 3-ball close to 36%, and he got a field goal percentage of 40%, and he basically had fair assist and steal numbers, so it pretty much made sense for his move, and he basically played alongside Jose Calderon for his first year in Toronto, and I'm pretty sure he played alongside with his new running mate in DeMar DeRozan. As for the Raptors, for Kyle Lowry, he basically was a very healthy player, and he basically started in most of those games, and he averaged just almost over 10 points per game, so it's a good move for the Raptors to even see. So the trade basically paid off, and Kyle Lowry was still a Raptor. Then basically fast track this then led to a team making the playoffs. Then after Kyle Lowry in his first year in the playoffs with DeMar DeRozan, they basically had a very great season, and they're basically a good seed in the Eastern Conference. They finished with a record of 48-34 as they were the first team in the Atlantic Division to win an Atlantic Division championship, and basically were the third best team in the Eastern Conference, and basically just had them facing the Brooklyn Nets, and basically this series did not go well. The series went to 7 games as it went back and forth. It was a very fun series to watch, and Kyle Lowry basically took a layup and got blocked in the last game. But for the playoff series for the Raptors, Kyle Lowry almost gave you about 21 points, shot the 3-ball at 40%, and he basically got to a field goal at about 40% on 15 attempts. So for Kyle Lowry, it's a pretty good playoff run, and I think there was nothing really to look back on. For the Raptors, it's basically a turn in the right direction. Then after the playoffs, Kyle Lowry got a big contract extension, which was $48 million to keep him for the Raptors for the next 4 years. The deal basically meant that Kyle Lowry is basically the future and the future point guard of his team, and he would find a new home in Canada. Kyle Lowry is first with the Raptors on a new contract at 28 years old. He basically made his first All-Star team, which is very nice, and he gave you 18 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds a game. This was Kyle Lowry's first All-Star appearance, as Kyle Lowry finally set a tier of where you're a top-tier point guard with many players in the NBA at the time, with John Wall and many guards in the East. As for basically the Eastern Conference, it's pretty much a weak-loader conference, though for players like D. Rose were on decline, and many others. Then basically more playoff heartbreaks came along. Then basically the fast track in the 2015 playoffs. As for the 2015 season, Kyle Lowry in the regular season gave you 17 points, shot 38% from 3, and basically had a field goal percentage of 41%, and he gave you 6 assists, and he had almost a steal and close to a block and a half per game. After Kyle Lowry, the Raptors looked very much better in the 2015 playoffs, as the Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan Raptors basically played the Washington Wizards with a 49-33 record, but basically got swept in the first round. And basically for many Raptors seasons to come, it'll go on and off to basically the next season onwards. Teen NBA playoffs, the Raptors breakthrough finally came for Kyle Lowry and the Raptors, as they made their first conference finals in team history, as they lost in 6 games as they came back 2-0 to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they basically had many 7-game series with the Pacers and the Miami Heat going forward. Then basically for the 2017-2018 season for Kyle Lowry and the Raptors, they're very much promising, and then in the 2017-2018 playoffs, basically it was the same story as the Raptors won the opening round in 6 games, and they'll get swept by the Cavaliers time and time again. Then there's basically something that wasn't working, and basically the Raptors basically came to a conclusion that they had many regular season success, and they just couldn't get over the hump and winning an NBA championship. As for Kyle Lowry and the team. As for Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, this is one of the best duos in the NBA, and it had a bond that was unbreakable. Then basically on July, basically in the offseason, DeMar DeRozan, his buddy, got traded, and so sent Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto, and Kyle Lowry wasn't really happy about it. He was very sad because his buddy got traded, and his friend got traded, but like I said, a business is a business, and in an interview with ESPN's Rachel Nicholas, Kyle Lowry said he felt betrayed because DeMar DeRozan felt that way.
Betrayed. Did you feel betrayed?
I felt betrayed because he felt betrayed because that's my guy, that's my best friend. So yeah, I felt some type of way. On a personal side, it's a harsh business that it's a great business, but sometimes moves are made that you're like, wow, that sucks.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated.
You guys in your locker room have photos of you with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk in this organization about being a family, and I kind of think you need to talk about things that way to be connected enough to win.
Yeah.
And yet, it's a business also. It's a hard thing to balance.
Yeah, you can have the pictures up there and you can say we're family, but you know, some things, family do things a little bit better sometimes than it would be business-wise, right? You know, family, you would say, hey, let's have this conversation. Business is like, sometimes you gotta get it done.
Right.
So, you know, it's a fine line.
When for Kyle Lowry, he was asked about his relationship with Masai Ujiri, he said he's a basketball president of operations, and he added, for me, he just does his job, and like he said, basically, it's a business. And basically, for all the up and down, this then led to the Raptors championship year to when the Raptors be the 2019 NBA champions, and to basically mean Kyle Lowry have basically the best time of his career. Kyle Lowry, in the 65 games he played, in over 34 minutes of play, he shot 34% from 3, gave you 8 assists, and basically had fair stat numbers, so there's nothing more to say. And for Kyle Lowry at basically a duo with Kawhi Leonard, it was pretty much something to be successful to even watch. And like I said, for 12 years after making Kyle Lowry's career, this dramatic playoff run saw basically the team go to 7 games against the Philadelphia 76ers in the second round, and the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they basically beat the Warriors in 6 games, and he faced off in playing almost the best point guard of all time in Steph Curry. But as for Kyle Lowry in their last championship game versus the Warriors, and when the lights were their brightest, Kyle Lowry didn't fare to back out. He and Siakam led the Raptors with 26 points in the championship game, and as Kyle Lowry set the tone of the night, and he basically had his own 11-2 run, and he picked up 3 assists in that first quarter, as he basically just went off. Afterwards with Kyle Lowry, in the 2019 to 2020 playoffs, the Raptors then played without Kawhi Leonard, and their team was basically almost at most the same, but they had a bit of youngsters. And then Kyle Lowry basically had a good season, and basically the league shut down the COVID, which made him have to play in the NBA bubble due to basically certain circumstances. Then basically would then lead to the Raptors winning the first round and beating the Brooklyn Nets without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They lost to 7 games in the Celtics in the first round. Kyle Lowry, I don't really know how he really played, but for Kyle Lowry, basically had not really the same playoff numbers, but his points per game were there at 17 points, and he shot 31% from 3, which is pretty much below average, but he had a field goal percentage of 40%. So for Kyle Lowry, this didn't really mean anything, as he wanted to stay at the Raptors, as it's basically just a blessing in disguise, because the Raptors basically didn't really have much time to practice, and they pretty much had a limited time to basically come together as a team. Then for the Raptors next season in Tampa, they basically took away from home, and they wouldn't really play in front of NBA fans, and the Raptors basically regressed. They finished with almost a 10th record in basically the NBA, and Kyle Lowry was aging and he wanted to find a new home. And I think for Kyle Lowry it made sense because he basically did everything he could for the Raptors. I think it was just for his time for him to go. In the offseason, they got the 4th pick in the NBA draft with Scotty Barnes, and it basically meant the Raptors basically were starting a retool that would basically set the decades for ages. This then meant Kyle Lowry had to basically be traded to Miami Heat. Besides, Joey found a trade partner, but sent Kyle Lowry to the Miami Heat in a sign trade, as he was signing an extension with the team. And the Raptors again returned Goran Dragic and a promising center in Precious Chua, the first round pick afterwards. So I think this trade is very much good for the Raptors. They got Christian Cloak in return, and Goran Dragic was waived because he didn't really mean anything to their team. But after coming for a time with the Miami Heat, he was pretty much a solid role player. Basically, Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, he basically had one of his worst playoffs, and he didn't really have a good outing. But for the regular season, he basically was in and out of the lineup, and he dealt with nagging injuries as he played 22 games. Kyle Lowry, like I said, he had one of the funnest eras of basketball, and for a time now, the NBA isn't really the same without him. And like I said, Kyle Lowry led the Raptors to basically a fun era of basketball from the years of 2012 to the era of 2020. That was the most funnest 8-year era in Raptors history, and that's why Kyle Lowry has the greatest Raptor of all-time status, and he basically touched all hearts of Toronto fans, and he basically has a legacy in Toronto that is not forgotten, and for why he had the greatest and fun times in the 2010s. So if you are new, like the video, comment, and leave a subscription. And we're on the road to 500. If we can hit 500 by the end of next year, that would very much be a goal. And it's your boy Dini, baby. And like I said, if you all want me to do more Raptors videos like this, please be sure to like and comment and let me know your thoughts down below.